class is in memory of Jared Orchen. Elie Wiesel tells in memoirs, when he was 8 years old, the Rabbi of Vishnitz, Israel of Vishnitz, came to his city, Siget. His mother was from an important family of Vishnitz, that she took him to see the Rabbi. Many people were in the room, waiting in the waiting room, but she did not have to wait a long time because she was from a very important family. She walked in with him to the Rabbi's room, to this Rabbi of Vishnitz. He talked to her about her family, talked to her about them. Then he told her, I want to talk with the boy by himself. Fine. She left the room. The Rabbi called him up, set him on his laps, started to ask him questions, what he learns, Bible. He started to learn Talmud already, and he told him, I want you to continue to learn Talmud, to be really dedicated for the Talmud. You should really concentrate on it. Then he told him it was a pleasure to talk to you, sent him out, says, call your mother back. He walks out, his mother walks in, she's there for a few minutes, she goes out and she cries. And cries the whole way home. And he asked her, he thought maybe he embarrassed her, maybe he didn't give good answers. What? Why is she crying? And he asked her and she doesn't say. She just doesn't say nothing. Nothing. And then days later, he's asking her, she was crying a little there, and every time when he mentions to her, what happened there? She starts crying, she doesn't tell him anything. After a while, forget about it. Years passed, that was, when he was, I think, 14 or 15, was the time when the Nazis came to his town, they took everybody. His mother died in the Holocaust. He survived, he came to America, and he had an uncle, his mother's brother, in America, in Manhattan. Maybe in the 60s, somewhere in the 60s, he gets a phone call from a hospital. Your uncle is in critical condition, we need to do a surgery for him. And he's not ready to sign for the surgery until you come to visit him. The guy thought in the last minutes, he took a taxi, ran to the hospital. Comes his uncle, what happened? His uncle tells him, I need you to give me a blessing. The uncle was a Hasidic Jew, a very dedicated Jew, observant Jew. And Elie Wiesel was not such a big tzaddik at that time. He told him, you need a blessing for me? I think you have more connections up there. Told him, I need a blessing. Meanwhile, the doctor said, just give him a blessing. The guy, it's a matter of minutes. We need to do the surgery. And he said he's not signing the surgery. He gave him the blessing. May you give him a hand. You should survive. Everything will be good. And then he signed for the surgery. They rolled him into the surgery room. Did the surgery. Fine. A few days later, he comes back. And he tells him, he starts to talk to him. He said, Uncle, what is it all about? Asking for me a blessing? Where is this coming? He says, you remember the visit that the Vishnitzer Rebbe had in Siget last time he was there? I said, sure, I remember. And I remember how my mother cried, I didn't know why, what happened? He tells them, I know why. He said, gets so upset, he wanted to shake him. You know for so many years why, and I go around like this. But he said he couldn't shake him because he was so sick, he couldn't touch him. He tells them, when your mother, I was also waiting to go into the Rebbe, but when your mother came out crying, I walked her home. And you walked ahead of us, and she told me, I'll tell you that, but I promise you to never tell anybody ever. He said that this Vishnitzer Rebbe called her in and told her, your son will be growing up a great man in the Jewish people, but not me and not you will see it. And that's why she was crying. That he said to him, if the Rebbe said that you're going to be a great man, I wanted a bracha from you. I wanted a blessing from you. He continued to learn Talmud as his Rebbe told him. And he tells in his memoirs, when he came out from the Holocaust, and when he settled, it was normal, he was able to think, he opened the same page in the Talmud that he finished, that he stopped before the war. He was ripped away from his town. And he continued to learn at the same place that he stopped last time. In the Parsha of this week, we read about Joseph. the meeting between Joseph and his brother. Finally, I am Joseph. Is your father still alive? Is my father still alive? And they are hugging and kissing and crying. He's crying a lot. Finally, they go back home. They come to Jacob. And the Torah said something very interesting. They told them, Oid Yosef Chai. Told him Yosef is alive. That's a Medrash said that they sent Sarah, the daughter, his granddaughter, with a harp to play and to try to break the news slowly. But the Torah said, Velo emin lahem. He didn't believe them. The Medrash says, the Talmud says, that's the punishment of a liar. Last time they lied, right? That also when he says the truth, you don't believe him. The truth, you don't believe him. They lied then, now they say the truth, but he did. You said he was torn apart, suddenly he's alive. But then it's written, when they told them what Joseph told them, the word that Joseph told them, and he saw the wagons that he sent, he believed them, and his spirit came back to him. He was revived. Rashi says, what changed? Why in the beginning he didn't believe them, and now he believed them? Joseph told them what was the last thing he learned with Jacob before he left. That when he told them this, Jacob was revived. Number one, he knew for sure it's Joseph, because he told them, Jacob remembered what was the conversation. But number two, he saw that Joseph is the same Joseph. He thought himself, and they said Joseph is the ruler of Egypt 22 years later. Who knows how this guy looks like today? But when he remembers the Torah that he learned, he continues the conversation that was cut off abruptly 22 years ago when Jacob knew that there is a future here. And that's why his spirit was revived. What was the conversation? What did he learn 22 years before that? They learned about a very interesting mitzvah. They learned there is a mitzvah, there is a Jewish law in Deuteronomy, in the end of the Parsha of Shoftim, Judges, there is a law if there is a man was found killed, murdered in the middle of the streets in Israel, then the rabbis in Jerusalem, the Supreme Court judges, have to travel to this place. Let's say he was found dead between Be'er Sheva and Eilat, and they have to measure what's the closest city to the dead person. And if they discover that Be'er Sheva is the closest city, they have to go back. They did their job. They give over the information to the city, to the rabbis of Be'er Sheva, to the Beit Din, to the court, and they go, and they have to go to a special place where there is water, and to take a calf, and they have to wash their hand in the water, and say, our hands did not spill the blood. Our hands are clean from the blood. The expression, I wash my hand from the crime, comes from there. And they have to make a statement, a declaration. It's not our fault. The Talmud is asking, who thought that this rabbi killed them? And the 3-year-old rabbis who come with a shaky hand and kill the man. Who was thinking even that they killed them? What they say is that we are not carrying responsibility for the homicide in any way, shape, or form. We provided for the homeless people shelter and escort and food. It wouldn't happen in our city. It's not our fault. We made sure that the criminals are locked up on both sides, on the side of the victim and on the side of the killer. We made sure it's not our fault. That's the law that Jacob was teaching Joseph before he said goodbye to him. What lays behind this message? Why Joseph sent them back and reminded him about them? Jacob, when he sent Joseph, he told him, go check how my brothers are doing, how your brothers are doing. And he went, he says, Hineni, I'm going. Forever, Jacob was, the Medrash says, me'av mechatrin, his kishkes were turning around. Why I sent my son? Why I did it? Why I sent him? I knew that they ate him. Why I did it? And he could never forgive himself. That Joseph, by sending him this message, he told him, don't worry, it's not your fault. The older rabbis, you can wash your hand. You didn't do anything wrong. It worked out. It was everything from God. It meant to be. Don't beat yourself up. Don't don't blame yourself and feel guilty for sending me. You did the right thing. You did it the right way. It worked out. It was all meant to be from God for me to be able to sustain you and give you food, to be able to save you. That's on one level. Then comes the Hasidic level, the Rabbi explains a little deeper. As much as the Beit Din is responsible for a homicide, for a murder of a person who dies, there is spiritual debt in the Jewish people too. And somebody is cut off from his spiritual roots. He's spiritually dead. He might run around in a Jaguar, but he's dead. Who is responsible for his death? The rabbis. They are responsible. Why they didn't do everything in their power to save this person, to teach him Judaism? That Joseph is telling Jacob, your Torah that you taught me before I left sustained me for 22 years. You gave me enough strength. I should not lose my Jewish identity all the way until today. I continue to be Jewish. I raise my kids Jewish. And when you come, you have nothing to be worried. You'll meet a Jewish son, not a son that who knows as a ruler of Egypt, you don't know. But Jacob actually sustained them. And he told them what the rabbis are responsible. And it's much easier to wash your hand to say that you didn't kill somebody. You're not responsible for the physical death of a person. We try to provide them with food. But to say we are not responsible, we did everything in our power that the Jewish person should not be lost to the Jewish people. It's much harder, a bigger responsibility in harder test to say that you did everything in your power. Jacob did everything in his power, and therefore Joseph stayed the Jew forever.